David Muir, ABC's World News Tonight, America's most watched newscast. Now streaming same day with all the breaking news of the day on Disney Plus. Most watched, most trusted. Now on Disney Plus every night.
Tonight, there is breaking news just as we come on after the shooting and killing of a mother of three in her SUV. Tonight, Minnesota is now suing to get ICE agents out of the state. It comes as Homeland Security is now surging hundreds more federal agents into that state. Teams of armed agents in neighborhoods using battering rams at front doors. Also breaking tonight, the U.S. now warning all Americans to leave Iran immediately. More than 600 demonstrators killed there. President Trump's new threat tonight. Ian Pannell standing by in the region, while in the U.S., the U-Haul into a crowd of protesters. Tonight, one of President Trump's top targets, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, is now under criminal investigation. The president has pressured Jerome Powell to lower interest rates. Tonight, Powell is fighting back. Tonight, a suspect now under arrest. The new surveillance right here. The suspect accused of setting fire to an historic synagogue. A hooded figure seen pouring gasoline. The chilling turn tonight of the killing of that dentist and his wife, that wife's ex-husband, now charged with murder, and how they tracked him down. In New York City tonight, the largest nurses' strike in city history. The new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, speaking out on behalf of the nurses and what they're now demanding. The terrifying plunge tonight for a paraglider off Florida. Tonight, the weather and the deadly 17-vehicle pileup. Drivers could only see a few feet in front of their car. The face-off being seen by so many tonight between the Rhino and the Deer, and how this ends. In New York City, the runaway carriage horse dashing into traffic in Manhattan and the accident. And you get a car. The big surprise, who gets one next? America Strong.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. We begin tonight here with the breaking news out of Minneapolis after that mother of three was shot and killed in her SUV by an ICE agent. Tonight, Minnesota has now filed a lawsuit to get ICE out of the state. It comes as Homeland Security is now surging hundreds more federal agents into that state. Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the state of Minnesota all suing to block Homeland Security from moving forward with that surge. Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey tonight saying, quote, at times there are as many as 50 agents arresting one person. He says the scale is wildly disproportionate and it has nothing to do with keeping people safe, he said. It comes amid rising tensions there after those graphic images, that mother of three, Renee Good, behind the wheel of her SUV, the agent shooting 3 times, hitting her in the head. Her SUV then accelerating and crashing into parked cars on the side of the street. The Trump administration has defended that agent and says more are now needed. ABC's Faith Abubey leading us off tonight. She's in Minneapolis.
Tonight, with growing protests in Minneapolis and around the country over ICE agent Jonathan Ross shooting and killing Renee Good, the Department of Homeland Security is responding by surging hundreds more ICE and other federal agents to Minneapolis as operations continue across the city. In a residential neighborhood just blocks from where Renee Good was killed, agents firing tear gas today to disperse protesters away from the scene of a car crash involving immigration officers.
This has to stop. It just has to stop.
Today, the state of Minnesota and the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul announcing they're suing DHS, calling the surge of agents a federal invasion.
We are not asking ICE not to do ICE things. We are asking this federal government to stop the unconstitutional conduct that is invading our streets each and every day. You've seen the videos. At times, there are as many as 50 agents arresting one person. The scale is wildly disproportionate and has nothing to do with keeping people safe.
In the hours after Renee Good was killed, the Trump administration declared the incident a case of domestic terrorism. Today, the White House press secretary continuing to defend ICE's actions, calling Renee Good a, quote, lunatic.
This administration will continue to stand wholeheartedly by the brave men and women of ICE, including that officer in Minneapolis who was absolutely justified in using self-defense against a lunatic who was part of a group, an organized group, to interject and to impede on law enforcement operations.
And David, DHS is responding to that lawsuit, saying Minneapolis officials are prioritizing politics over policy. And tonight, Illinois and the city of Chicago also taking their own legal action against DHS for ICE operations in that area. David.
Faith Abubey in Minneapolis for us. Faith, thank you. Tonight there are also breaking developments when it comes to Iran. The images and the U.S. now warning all Americans to leave Iran immediately. The protests there growing more violent. More than 600 demonstrators have been killed during this bloody crackdown on nationwide protests. President Trump's threat to Iran tonight and to countries doing business with Iran. Our chief foreign correspondent, Pannell, from the region tonight.
Tonight, the State Department's now warning all Americans to get out of Iran immediately, as horrific new video captures the escalating bloodshed. Unarmed protesters simply calling for change gunned down in cold blood as the regime tightens its grip, and President Trump weighs a military response to stop the crackdown.
We're looking at it very seriously. The military is looking at it, and we're looking at some very strong options.
While Iranians wait for help, agony and grief in Tehran as desperate families search through mounting body bags to try to find their loved ones. Despite an internet blackout, a handful of chilling videos are leaking out onto social media. Human rights groups now say more than 600 people have been killed, including 9 children, more than 10,000 arrested. What began as protests over staggering inflation and a currency collapse, now on the brink of a wholesale uprising. Iranian-American doctor Kayvan Miradi calling it a massacre, saying Iranian doctors are forced to treat wounded protesters inside homes, fearing the victims could be arrested at hospitals.
They said bodies and bodies of dead people just coming in. There's no place for the morgue to even put them. Families showing up, trying to pick them up, and they're not releasing the body until they pay. They want them to pay money to the government to get the body.
After making threats if the regime used violence, President Trump now saying Iranian leaders called him over the weekend, claiming they want to negotiate, echoing a statement today by Iran's foreign minister who said Iran is prepared for war but ready to talk. Solidarity protests popping up across the globe and back in the U.S. The FBI now investigating this incident in Los Angeles after a U-Haul truck plowed into a crowd demonstrating in support of protests in Iran, injuring 2 people. Police say the truck displayed signs opposing the views of the protesters. That driver arrested and charged with reckless driving.
David, make no mistake, these are the most consequential protests we've seen in years, and the regime is feeling the pressure. Now President Trump says he'll impose tariffs on any country doing business with Iran, but there are still questions about what else he can and will do to try to stop the bloodshed. David?
The developing story out of Iran tonight, Ian, thank you. Back in this country now, one of President Trump's top targets, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, is now under criminal investigation. The president has for some time now pressured Jerome Powell to lower interest rates. Now this criminal investigation tonight, in a rare move, Powell is fighting back, with a growing number of Republicans coming to his defense. Mary Bruce at the White House tonight.
Tonight, the growing backlash after the Justice Department, for the first time in history, launched an investigation into the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Fed Chair Jerome Powell, in an extraordinary statement, calls the investigation part of President Trump's pressure campaign to get him to lower interest rates.
The threat of criminal charges is a consequence of the Federal Reserve setting interest rates based on our best assessment of what will serve the public, rather than following the preferences of the president.
The investigation involves Powell's testimony into the cost of building renovations at the Fed. Trump himself visiting one of the work sites over the summer, appearing to try to surprise Powell with the numbers.
This came from us?
Yes. I don't know who does that.
You're including the Martin renovation. You just added
our entire capital.
Yeah, you just added in a third building is what that is. That's a third building.
Well, no, but it's a building that's being built.
No, it was built 5 years ago. We finished Martin 5 years ago.
It's part of the overall work.
But
it's
not new.
So we're going to take a look.
The president claims he doesn't know anything about the DOJ investigation, though just 2 weeks ago he said this.
We're thinking about bringing a suit against Powell for incompetence.
Tonight, Republican Senator Tom Tillis says he will block a vote on any of the president's Fed nominees until the investigation into Powell is resolved.
And what's your message to the administration?
My message isn't to the administration. My message to whoever who went after what I consider to be vindictive prosecution, to grow up and give the president better advice.
Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski calls the investigation an attempt at coercion, warning if the Federal Reserve loses its independence, the stability of our markets and the broader economy will suffer.
Does the president believe that the Fed should operate independently from him?
The president has made it quite clear he thinks Jerome Powell is bad at his job.
But does he believe in the independence of the Fed, Caroline?
He has, and he said that many times.
And David, tonight in a joint statement, all of the living former Fed chairs appointed by presidents of both parties call the DOJ investigation an unprecedented attempt to undermine the Fed, calling its independence and the public's perception of that independence, quote, critical for economic performance. David.
All right, Mary Bruce at the White House. Mary, thank you. Tonight, news of an arrest and new surveillance just in. The disturbing images out of Mississippi. A suspect under arrest accused of setting fire to an historic synagogue, the oldest in that state. A hooded figure seen pouring gasoline inside the synagogue. Let's get right to our Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas with us tonight. Pierre, what have you learned?
Davis, the evidence is mounting that the attack against the historic synagogue may have been an act of pure hate. The arson was caught on surveillance. A hooded figure can be seen dousing a room with gasoline. The fire caused catastrophic damage, rendering the building inoperable. An FBI affidavit lays out the arson case against Stephen Spencer Pittman, 19, who is from the area. It claims that he targeted the Beth Israel Congregation Temple because of the building's, quote, Jewish ties, and that he laughed about the attack when talking to his father, calling the building the synagogue of Satan. David, that synagogue, which serves no fewer than 13 states in the South, was bombed by the KKK in 1967, in part because it supported the civil rights movement. David?
All right, Pierre Thomas. Pierre, thank you. Now to the chilling turn tonight in the killing of a dentist and his wife in Columbus, Ohio. That case we've been following. That wife's ex-husband is now charged with murder tonight, and how they tracked him down. Here's Alex Perez.
Tonight, after a 10-day manhunt for the killer of Ohio dentist Spencer Tepe and his wife Monique, investigators now say they were shot by Monique's ex-husband. 39-year-old Michael McKee arrested, facing aggravated murder charges, appearing today in an Illinois courtroom, agreeing to be extradited to Ohio.
Your name, sir, for the record? Michael McKee.
Investigators say they tracked the ex-husband through neighborhood surveillance video, linking him to a vehicle which arrived just prior to the homicides and left shortly after. That car eventually found located 400 miles away in Rockford, Illinois. Neighbors stunned.
He did not seem like somebody that would do something like this.
Court records obtained by ABC affiliate WSYX show McKee and Monique married in 2015 and divorced in 2017, stating they were incompatible. On December 30th, his ex-wife Monique and her husband Spencer found shot and killed inside their Columbus home, a friend calling 911.
There's a body.
The couple's 4-year-old daughter and 1-year-old son found inside unharmed.
Yeah, no answer. I can hear kids inside, and I swear I think I heard one yell, but we can't get in.
The Tepe family thanking the community for their support, saying, "We trust the justice system to hold the person responsible fully accountable."
And David, it remains unclear when exactly the ex-husband will be transported to Ohio. In court today, his public defender said he intends to plead not guilty. David?
Alex Perez with us tonight. Thank you, Alex. In New York City tonight, the largest nurses' strike in this city's history. Tonight, the new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, speaking out on behalf of the nurses and what they're demanding. Here's ABC's Rhiannon Alley.
Tonight, the largest nursing strike in New York City's history. Nearly 15,000 nurses walking off the job and onto the picket line. The union striking 3 leading hospital systems, Montefiore, Mount Sinai, and New York Presbyterian, demanding higher pay and benefits, increased staffing, and more security after a string of violent incidents at hospitals.
Make sure that we can staff our hospitals appropriately and make sure that they're putting their patients before profit.
Today, the city's new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, showing support with a visit to the picket lines.
They show up, and all they are asking for in return is dignity, respect, and the fair pay and treatment that they deserve.
The strike comes in the middle of a severe flu season, with New York hospitals reporting a record number of patients. Some hospitals now bringing in outside nurses. Mount Sinai already canceling some elective procedures.
We will be able to run safely our hospitals, our outpatient practices, but there will be changes.
And David, tonight negotiations are ongoing. Meanwhile, those affected hospitals are urging people not to delay treatment if they have a medical emergency. David.
Rhiannon Alley here in New York tonight. Rhiannon, thank you. Tonight, Arizona Senator Mark Kelly suing Secretary Pete Hegseth for attempting to punish him and reduce Kelly's military retirement rank. Kelly now suing Hegseth, the Defense Department, the Secretary of the Navy, and the Navy itself. He claims Hegseth's attempt to punish him for a video warning troops not to follow, quote, illegal orders violates Kelly's First Amendment rights. Senator Kelly says his job is to hold the administration accountable. When we come back here tonight, the terrifying fall for a paraglider off the U.S. tonight. The images right here this evening, the dramatic 500-foot plunge. In New York City, the runaway carriage horse dashing into traffic in Manhattan, and then the accident. Also, the images getting a lot of attention tonight, the wild face-off between the Rhino and the deer, and how this ends here. Tonight, a paraglider surviving a terrifying 500-foot fall. Take a look, splash landing into the ocean off the east coast of Florida. A beach visitor captured the 52-year-old paraglider in trouble, whipping through the air there before slamming into the ocean near Palm Beach. Witnesses quickly swam to his aid and safely brought him back to shore. Police say he was not injured. Tonight, the weather and the dramatic images after a deadly 17-car pileup in California. This was the scene on Highway 99 in Fresno Sunday. First responders pulling dozens of people from their cars. A 61-year-old man was killed, dozens of others, including children, suffering injuries. Police say extremely dense fog caused this chain reaction crash. Alarming moments just now emerging after an accident in New York City when a runaway carriage horse dashed into traffic, crashing into cars. Witnesses captured video of the horse bolting into the path of oncoming cars. The Carriage Drivers Union says a delivery driver startled the horse. The horse is okay. Animal advocacy groups sharing the videos, renewing their calls for a ban on horse carriages in the city. When we come back here, that remarkable moment, the skater whose parents died in a plane crash over the Potomac. Well, his new message tonight. And then the face-off, you have to see this, between the Rhino and the deer, and how this ends tonight. To the index of other news tonight, an Olympian honoring his parents' memory, saying they are looking down on him, smiling and proud. Figure skater Maxim Naumov emotional as he paid tribute to his parents after securing a spot on the Olympic team over the weekend. Naumov's mom and dad were among the 67 people killed in last year's plane crash over the Potomac. Naumov shared one of the last conversations he had with his parents was about making it to the Olympics. A wild and playful standoff at a zoo in Poland. These pictures being seen by so many tonight. A tiny muntjac deer and huge rhino going head-to-head there. Zookeepers say the fearless deer was protecting its mate while the rhino thought they were playing a game. The rhino, aware of its massive size, gently nudging the deer, backing off. The zoo says the two animals have actually peacefully shared an enclosure for years. When we come back here tonight, you get a car, you get a car. The big surprise, who gets one next? America Strong. Finally tonight here, the lessons we learned growing up. In one class, they have traded the classroom for the garage, and they are changing lives. Tonight in Mineral, Virginia, north of Richmond, a remarkable gift from a high school teacher and his students to single moms in their community. Mr. Shane Robertson's automotive technology class at Louisa County High School, and look at this. Diego Garcia, Joseph Jackson lifting up the hood, Caleb Asburn with the oil change. Mr. Robertson teaching his students how to check a car's brakes, the tires, the lights, and plenty more. They have partnered with a local nonprofit, Giving Words, and Carter Myers Automotive Dealership. That class is fixing up donated cars and then giving them to single moms in need. The garage door opening, the cheers from the students, the car with the red bow, moms and their children grateful. Come on in! Mom Faith wiping away tears. Smiling, sitting in her new car, her daughter running up to see it, sitting in the front seat too. Mom Jessica Rader, overwhelmed with joy. And right here tonight,
hi, David.
That mom, thankful.
People that didn't even know me cared enough to care about my kids. You never know what one act of kindness will do. Thank you.
And tonight, joining us too.
So just really appreciate you having us on, David.
Eddie Brown, co-founder of the Giving Words nonprofit.
My wife and I were both single parents and struggled with transportation. And so that's one reason why we created Giving Words, and it started in the driveway of our home.
And that proud teacher and all of his mechanics, Mr. Robertson.
They get the real life grit behind why they're actually doing a task. This is somebody's real car, and you're really making a change in the world.
It doesn't get any better than that. Incredible smiles on the faces of those families and those young mechanics. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right here tomorrow. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the 3rd year in a row.